Well, again, good morning, everyone. It is really, it warms my heart so much to be here with you, present, and also to be with those folks who are joining us from all around. And I wanted to start the Dharma Talk this morning on the art of creating ritual, which, by the way, I wrote a 7-day silent retreats worth of information on this because I really got into it and lost track of everything. So I hope you all have some time today. Just kidding. But I wanted to start today actually taking a look at something that I don't believe this always happens, but I think that we sometimes take for granted because it's easy to do, because I know I do it, and that is the Anjali Mudra. The Anjali Mudra. This mudra is rapidly taking precedence around the entire globe as a form of greeting. I can't believe that it's replacing the chest bump, the high five, the fist bump, the handshake, the double-sided kiss on either cheek, all these forms of greeting, because obviously the pandemic, people around the world are adopting the Anjali Mudra as a form of salutation and greeting. It, of course, was already prevalent in many of the Eastern countries, but it's really taking on it's really taking on a more prolific aspect now. And so I wanted to talk about that just for a few moments and then get into the talk. The Anjali Mudra is so much more than a gesture. It is a very deeply devotional practice. Anjali in Sanskrit means offering to the divine, whatever that means to you. And so, as you can see, it has already taken this moment, and it is the moment this happens, you are offering this moment to the divine. And oftentimes it accompanies a saying such as Namaste, which means the divinity in me sees the divinity in you, whether you can see it yours or not. It is still there. Those two connect with each other. The Anjali Mudra is a focusing of the heart energy because it takes place in front of the Anahata chakra or the heart chakra. It is it's like a magnifying glass that's pulling every aspect of your energy and focusing it this way through here. When we bring our hands together in Anjali Mudra, it's just not a, hey, what's up with you? It is truly a mindful process of gathering one's chi, one's prana, one's life force energy, coming together and bringing together the yin, the yang, the masculine, the feminine, the logical, the intuitive. The Anjali Mudra goes on to explain that in the Eastern practices, the fingers represent the 5 elements of fire, water, air, space, fire, water, air, space, and earth. And so bringing these together is bringing together not only those elements of the universe, but those within us. So much is happening in just this practice that we oftentimes take for granted, especially now that we're doing it more. And so I just wanted to bring that up and talk about that, the Anjali Mudra, bringing this together as a salutation. When we do this, our awareness is being directed to our heart and focused outward. Every aspect of my being is with you. And so I wanted to simply bring that up and elevate this little thing that we do, because that's a large part of what I'm going to be talking about today, is this ability within us to elevate something to the sacred. We so often look for it out there. unaware of our own ability to elevate something to the sacred. So in this world where technology and consumerism have practically become a religion for some folks, we have largely lost something magical. And that is this ability to elevate something to the realm of the sacred. And yes, in large part, that's why we come together on Sunday mornings in sacred Sangha to connect in the sacred with each other. These, however, are very challenging times, and the allure of the external makes it sometimes difficult for us to remember our true nature. The fear, the greed, the anger, the delusion seem to have found not only a megaphone, but a 24-hour media platform. And so we're bombarded constantly with the external, which is so loud and so often, so much. One of my friends used to say, everything's happening so much. I always thought that was kind of cute. And so this constant bombardment draws us out. Ritual, as important elements of human life, have been a significant aspect of Buddhist practice since the time of the Buddha himself. There are so many rituals, some that, believe it or not, that we're practicing together here. For example, the prayer of refuge, or even the act of going for refuge. In times of difficulty, in times of overwhelm for ourselves, we take refuge in our Buddha nature. That ability to expand and see what's going on in a much larger, much bigger picture, holding space around the sorrow, holding space around the anger, the self-righteousness, whatever has taken a hold of us. Seeing the Buddha nature in everyone we meet. Taking refuge in the Dharma, the truth teachings. And remember, Dharma has a double meaning. Dharma means not only the written, the teachings of the Buddha and all subsequent teachers. Don't know what that was. Do I still have sound? Sorry, everyone. But also the truth of the moment. Every moment has a reality, a truthful reality, whether we see it or not. Oftentimes, we see the world as we are, not as it is. But there is a truth there. And finally, of course, is the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, taking refuge in our Sangha, whether that is a counselor, a neighbor, family, friends, a spiritual leader, a confidant, a spouse. All of these are Sangha, which also includes readings. When you pick up a book from a favorite spiritual writer and you find comfort in these teachings, that's Dharma, that's Sangha. That author is sharing that with you. Imagine also other rituals in the Buddhist practice, taking the precepts, bearing witness in Sangha when we share in small groups those things that are on our hearts, such as our 10:15 post-service discussion group. Offering homage or respect to the Buddha and all of our teachers, both formal and informal. Blessings, aspirations, Brahma-Vihara prayers, dedications of merit, dedications of intention. All of these rituals in our practice are meant to elevate something in the moment of our awareness into the sacred. Gil Fronsdale, a very popular Buddhist author and teacher, goes on to explain this. Rituals are a form of language that expresses many dimensions of our human condition. including our relationships to others, the planet, and to our spiritual life. As actions done with others to share our common values, rituals help create community and mutual support. As a way of being mindful, they can bring a heightened awareness to aspects of our experience needing attention. Rituals often involve symbolism and speak to our subconscious. And when they are repeated frequently, they shape our dispositions. When done wholeheartedly, they help us discover and express some of our deepest feelings and aspirations. So rituals can be as ordinary as just greeting someone. They can be as elaborate as some sort of a memorial ceremony that brings healing to grief. Rituals can transform the ordinary into something extraordinary. As when people share a blessing, or when people share silence together. I had a friend visit me from out of town one time, and he came to the Sunday morning meditation service and had never been to something like this before. After the service, he approached me and his face was just, it was like he'd seen a ghost or something. I'm like, Mike, are you all right? He's like, I have never experienced a silence like that. Sharing silence with a community is a ritual. It is a powerful and extraordinary experience. And the extraordinary can be seen as ordinary when universal compassion and regularly awakened through daily contemplation, chanting. In other words, to what degree are we committing ourselves to a spiritual lifestyle? So many people make the mistake of, okay, I'm not sure I'm ready to shave my head and live in a cave for the next 35 years. That might be one way to commit yourself to a spiritual life, but guess what? You don't have to do that. You can commit yourself to a spiritual life in every moment. And it's totally within your ability. You don't need fancy mala beads, you don't need water blessed by somebody, and you don't need a llama or an alpaca to ride around. You have, as the Buddha said, you have everything you need right here, right now to wake up. Stop looking. Rituals share many characteristics with poetry. I love that phrase. Rituals share many characteristics with poetry. You know how you feel when you read an amazing poem. That same feeling, that openness, that hugeness, that vastness, which connects us with everything, is always available to you. All we have to do is imbue that power with whatever activity we're doing right now. Ritual shares these characteristics also with theater, with dance, evoking emotions, intuition, new perspectives, new ways of doing things, even things that we've done all our lives. Because rituals touch more aspects of our mind-heart than simple, rote, habitual practices. Like the arts, ritual can enrich our lives and engage the full range of our being. And this is an interesting aspect of Western Buddhism, because in the Vajrayana, in the Tibetan, with my friends Matt and everyone over at the Rime Center, in the more traditional aspects of Buddhism, they still hold and keep a lot of that ceremony and ritual. Western Buddhism isn't so much about that, and that's okay. It is an evolution of an approach to the practice. So in Western Buddhism, it's often seen rituals as superficial and as distractions from the real work of practice. Spiritual warrior sitting on the cushions. I nailed a 2-hour meditation in 15 minutes today. Yeah. However, this view overlooks the way in which rituals are just as much a practice as our formal sitting, as chanting, as any of the other things that we do. In the past and in the present, there are many Buddhists for whom ritual practice have been the primary way of inner transformation. For example, as one of the most common Buddhist rituals, bowing can be very powerful and evoke a strength within a person of reverence, gratitude, humility, and the ability to let go of self-centeredness. This bow, ever so slight even, you don't have to touch your toes. It can just be a gentle bow. And in that, you can feel the reverence. You can feel the groundedness, the humility, the gratitude. And so on behalf of all these things, that's why today I wanted to advocate ritual. And I'm not saying that we're going to change what we do in Western Buddhism and start wearing robes and start, swinging bling around the place. I'm saying that ritual is something that you do. You could do it in complete silence. It's the power you imbue into an activity. It is not about necessarily the external expression of ritual. Those are fine. There's nothing wrong with those. I'm just saying you don't need that. You don't have to have that. We can lift an everyday act into the realm of the divine by turning it into a sacred ritual. What I have been trying to practice is the art of turning what matters most in my life into ritual. And I did have the thought cross my mind, and when it crossed my mind, I thought everybody else is going to ask me about this, or it's going to cross their mind too. And that is this. Victor, what's the difference between habit, routine, and ritual? So this is going to stand out from the talk today because it was totally a side thought. But I had the question. And so I set about answering this question. And what I came to realize, if you'll see in this little graph, I don't know if folks at home can see it or not, but habit, routine, and ritual have many similarities. The difference is not only energy and consciousness, but mindfulness and intention. Habit has none of those. Habit has no mindfulness and no intention. It is just the rote body doing something, and the mind is wandered off into the past or the future, or is running videos about what you're going to say to your boss tomorrow morning. Routine can absolutely have a mindfulness to it. Imagine, for example, making your bed. Do you remember Admiral McRaven's very famous and iconic commencement speech at the University of Texas, where he talked about the simple act of making your bed every morning, starting off with a success, starting off with understanding the importance of the small things, the details. And so routine can absolutely have a mindfulness to it. And so ritual brings them all together. The energy of the entire mind-body organism, your whole being, imbues this act. A great Zen master one time was asked, if you could condense all of Zen down to one thing, what would it be? He thought for a moment, he said, doing one thing at a time. And also the consciousness that you bring to it. And then finally, mindfulness and then the intention. The intention to sit down and have a meal, whether alone or with family. The intention to share in the entire universe on this plate. Do you understand all the hands that the food went through? From seed, to the watering, to the harvesting, to the processing, to the packaging. Sun, rain, earth, the entire universe is on this plate in front of you, whether it's a ham and cheese sandwich or a carrot. Wow, can you feel that? What if we lived our whole life that way? It is what we have lost, being constantly drawn out by the external, by the news of hurricanes, droughts, volcanoes, war, pandemic. When you're connected with all of that, you've lost what is right here and available to you in this moment. So then, can we bring ritual to the turning on of the TV, to watch the news? Rituals have a beginning, a middle, and an end. How often do we just turn on the news and let it run, making it automatic, making it background, making it the soundtrack to our life for an hour or 2 or 3? A ritual has a beginning, a middle, and an end. You take a moment and you open your heart to the world. You turn on the news. The middle of this is going to be feeling what is being brought to you. Some of it is going to be heartbreaking. The good news is the human heart was designed to be broken 1,000 times. Can you let that happen? And then there'll be positive news. There'll be some interesting things. Somebody sent me a meme the other day that said, every now and then, things will be okay. Don't be frightened. It's like, yeah, it kind of sums up our times these days, doesn't it? And so there's a middle to this ritual, opening your heart, then feeling what's going on in the world. Now, how do you end it? Can you now pour your heart out into the world? Transform the fear, transform the grief, transform the suffering with your own heart out to these people in Louisiana who are in the middle of this hurricane that's coming to land right now. Open your heart and bring in their fear, their anxiety, their loss. Transform that into compassion, love, and understanding, knowing that who they really are cannot be threatened. Helping them to see that, helping them to feel that. What an amazing thing you have just done in your 30 minutes of watching the news, versus cranking it on and screaming and yelling, why I can't, these idiots are ruining the country. Hate, fear, anger, delusion. No, transformation. And so I've got about 16 more pages. So obviously I'm going to have to, if I had a stage manager right now, he'd be going. So I want to close with this incredible essay by Krishnamurti. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the writings of Krishnamurti. But he shares with us in this essay what I think has this incredible way of really embodying making every moment a ritual. The ritual of driving my car, the ritual of washing the dishes, the ritual of walking the dog. And so I want to share this with you. It is entitled, You Can Be a Light Unto Yourself. To be aware is to watch your bodily activity, the way you walk, the way you sit, the way you rise, the movements of your hands. It is to hear the words that you use, to observe your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions. It includes awareness of the unconscious, with its traditions, its instinctual knowledge, its habit energy, and the immense sorrow that it sometimes accumulates. Not only personal sorrow, but the sorrow of mankind. You have to be aware of all of that. And you cannot be aware of it if you are simply and merely judging, evaluating, saying this is good, that is bad, this I will keep, this I will reject, all of which only makes the mind dull, insensitive. From awareness comes attention. Attention flows from awareness. When in that awareness, there is no choice, no personal choosing, no experiencing, but merely observing, merely watching. To observe, you must have in the mind a great deal of space. A mind that is caught in ambition, greed, and envy in the pursuit of pleasure and self-fulfillment with its inevitable sorrow, pain, despair, and anguish. Such a mind has no space in which to observe, in which to attend. It is crowded with its own desires going round and round in its own backwaters of reaction. You cannot attend if your mind is not highly sensitive, sharp, reasonable, logical, sane, healthy, without the slightest shadow of neuroticism. The mind has to explore every corner of itself, leaving no spot uncovered. Because if there is a single dark corner of one's mind which one is afraid to explore, from that corner springs delusion. It is only in the state of attention, in the state of awareness, that you can be a light unto yourself. And then every action of your daily life springs from that light, springs from that love. Every action, whether you are doing your job, cooking, going for a walk, mending your clothes, whatever you will, this whole process is meditation.